So hello everybody. So today we are going to be going to the Caribbean. Who's ever been to the Caribbean? Raise your hand. Of course Martin has. Of course Martin has. And of course Cynthia has. She's been everywhere. Miss Travel Bug over there. So the Caribbean is super exciting because it is actually one of the cultures that Jamal. Everybody remember Chef Jamal? That's where his family's from and everything like that. So I'm excited to actually have to show you guys it. I was hoping he was going to be here, but unfortunately he is out sick, and that's not cool. So best wishes to Jamal and feeling better later. But I'm going to do my best to kind of recreate his flavor. I forgot to shave my head, so I'm not going to be your Jamal today. I'll be my best substitute. All right.
Does shaving your head make you more Caribbean?
It makes you more Jamal.
Oh, there you go.
All right, so of course, like anything else, we're gonna go over safety first, and then we'll do like a little recap, and then of course we'll get into cooking. So who's excited for cooking?
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop. That's why we're all here, right?
Best.
All right, so first thing, of course, is for those of you who are in person, everybody knows where the hand washing sinks are. Please point to it if you know where it is. Perfect, thank you. Everybody knows what to do in case of an emergency. Who do we talk to? Point to that person. Perfect, love it. If you need to have Band-Aids or anything like that, who do we talk to? Cynthia. No, not you, buddy. Cynthia, perfect. She has the first aid kit, something like that. And those of you at home, make sure you guys also have an adult there present, because that is one of our rules. Super important. In case of fires, again, we go back to Martin and Amy are going to be our two people who are going to be going to in case of fire. At home, if you have an adult there, that person should have a strategy on how to get you out in case of a fire. All right, in case of fire also, do everybody know where the fire extinguisher is located at? Say right here, wave your hands so people know. There it is, fire extinguisher is located over there. For those of you at home, you should have a fire extinguisher in your house. If you don't, you should talk to your parent about that. All right, so let's do a little bit of a couple generic rules of safety. So I want to make sure everybody knows. First one, of course, is going to be, like we talk about every week, have adult present. Washing your hands, so knowing where your hand washing is, 20 seconds.
20 seconds in between the nails, around the wrists, all the way up.
Exactly. Prepare your ingredients and also measure them. So we have them all prepped. You guys see all your ingredients? Point to where your ingredients are. If you don't know where they are, please take a look at your table. It should be right there. Thank you. They're already pre-portioned, so they're ready to go. Next, any leftovers we have, make sure if you guys are taking any leftovers home, get in the refrigerator within the next 2 hours so you don't have any foodborne illnesses. That's super important. Always assume everything is hot, so we have hot pads. Everybody can identify their hot pads. If you don't know where it's at, please grab it and shake it in the air. You can stand up and grab it now. I want you guys to grab it, shake it in the air, shake it in the air. I want to see your hot pads. Those of you at home, shake your hot pads, put it in the air. Perfect, thank you. Next, we are going to also clean as we go. So we have our sanitizing solution. And do you remember our ratio?
Yes, we have a tablespoon of
Bleach
to a gallon of water.
Perfect. And there should be a little infographic everybody can see. Beautiful. All right, so we have our sanitizing solution. We also have, if you don't have bleach or you don't have a sanitizer, we can also use vinegar or lemon juice. Those are both acidic and they can kill germs, so that's really important.
Soapy water is also good.
Soapy water.
Soapy water
Can't go wrong. Keep meat separate. So today our protein is going to be fish. So we're going to keep our fish separate on the side in a little baggie. Perfect, beautiful. And then, of course, last but not least, the most important one, please take your time. The last thing we want anyone to do is accidentally hurt themselves. So, of course, we're also going to be working with hot oil today. So the most important thing is please take your time whenever we're frying anything because oil burns are not good. Now, it is important that we also talk about in case of emergencies. So in case of an oil burn, we will always have a sink to run to because we want to get water on it immediately. We'll have a burn kit ready to go. Cynthia, you have your burn kit? Perfect. All right. Those of you at home, make sure you have a burn kit or some antibiotic ointment or even some ice ready in case of a burn because those things can happen. It's not going to always happen, but it can. But in case of burn, you always go in, get cold water on it, get some ice on it to stop the cooking process because your hand is technically cooking or your arm or whatever is technically cooking. And we get some ointment and get all the antibiotics and get it wrapped up and ready to go. And understand this, if you accidentally burn yourself or you cut yourself or anything like that, it's okay.
It is okay.
Happens. These things are part of the cooking process, and even the best chefs burn themselves. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm a horrible chef. No, Gordon Ramsay burns himself. Just letting you know that. I've seen it happen. All right, any questions for anybody? You guys ready?
Talk a little bit about what we did last week.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Let's get
did
into it.
anybody get a chance to make the pizza?
Who made pizza last week?
Nice, I love it. Did it turn out well? Yeah. Awesome.
What'd you put on your pizza?
Pepperoni.
Pepperoni?
Yeah. Perfect.
So pepperoni, black olives, peppers, and mushrooms.
Nice.
And cheese, a lot of cheese, I'm guessing. Some mozzarella. Oh. Oh, I love mozzarella. Who loves mozzarella?
I love mozzarella.
I love mozzarella.
Yeah.
It's
And what did
amazing.
you guys use to make the dough rise? Do you remember?
Yeast?
Yeah,
Perfect.
excellent. So that's a leavening agent, right?
That is a leavening agent.
We're making a bread today. Are we using yeast?
We are not going to be
Oh.
using yeast. We're going to be using its cousin. I would say the more chemically imbalanced cousin, the baking powder. It is something that, of course, is by sodium bicarbonate and, of course, cornstarch. We'll talk a little more about that in a little bit.
Okay, good. And then today we're also going to do a little revisiting from previous lessons because berries are in season.
Yes.
And we made that fabulous bruschetta dessert, which is
It was toasted baguette with lime or lemon or orange zest and chocolate.
right. So that was low fat and low sugar. And we're going to talk a little bit more about keeping your diet low in sugar today.
Yes, the sugar is not always the best thing in the world.
Right.
Diabetes. That's all I have to say. All right. So, y'all ready to do some a little bit of dough making?
Dough making.
Who's ever made like a bread dough before? Perfect. Oh, so it's going to be new for a lot of people. Awesome. All right. So, first thing we're going to do is let's identify some ingredients. So, on your guys' table, you should have a bowl and a sieve. Now, for those of you at home, you don't have to have a sieve, but I like a sieve because you have it. All right. So we're going to go to our cooking stations. So everybody go to their cooking stations. To their cooking stations. Perfect. You're going to need a couple ingredients. The first one is going to be our all-purpose flour. It should be 2 cups of all-purpose flour. If you have it, shake it slowly in the air. I want to see you have it. Grab it. There you go. Got our all-purpose 2 cups. Beautiful. Perfect. Next, we're going to need our baking powder. Which is 1 tablespoon baking powder, half a teaspoon of salt, a 1 teaspoon of sugar. Now I have them all connected. It should have a thing that says for bread, for BRD. Everybody sees it. It's a little perfect. Give it a quick shake.
Oh, you
Shake,
can
shake,
hear
shake.
the salt.
Can you hear it?
I can hear it.
I want to hear that shaking. Grab it. It should say for BRD. That one it. All right, so we got it. Perfect. Then we're going to need, now this is optional, you can have butter. We're going to do ours 100% vegan, so no butter for this one. And then we're going to have 1 cup of water, so it should have a little deli container of water. Have that ready. Perfect. And then we're going to have some frying oil. So this is our frying oil. We're not going to use this yet, but just I want you guys to identify it. So we're using a soybean frying oil. You can also use canola oil, or we can also use coconut oil. Anything that has a high smoke point oil, those are good to fry. We wouldn't use olive oil because when you fry things with olive oil, it burns too quickly and it will give you a bitter taste. So we don't want that. All right, so you ready to do some baking? So the first thing we're going to do, let's get our bowl and we get our sieve. Get that present. All right, now I want you guys to share this part. Okay, this is super important. So if you're doing one thing, another person's going to do another thing, all right? We're going to be sharing this part.
Switch it up so you can learn both skills.
Exactly. So we're going to take our flour. Got our flour? Flour. Grab our flour. We're going to take off our lid. We're going to dump our flour into our sieve. Super easy.
There we go. Yep.
All right. We're going to take our other dry ingredients, which is, anybody remember what these are? Nope, keep it down. We're not shaking yet. We're going to get all of our dry ingredients together real quick. So we're going to take our baking soda, our salt, and our sugar. We're gonna grab those. It's right here in this little container. It's all in that little container. You guys
There
remember
you
that
go.
little container? All right, we're gonna add that into our flour. Now, it's super important we sieve these together because it's gonna kind of mix it together at the same time. So that's why we get all of our dry ingredients in. And now we can just shake, 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 shake our dough. Shake it in there. It should be pretty quickly. Now, at the end, you're gonna see some clumps.
Oh, man.
And this is important. You guys identify these clumps. We're gonna go with our fingers and kind of just break it up. Anything left over, we don't want that into our dough. So, especially when it comes to coarse salt,
Yeah,
all
coarse
the-
salt and baking powder can sometimes clump up.
clump up too. So
We wanna break
any
that
extra
down.
salt in there, we're just gonna throw it into the little dump. All right, so we can put our sieve into our, once everything's done, into our dirty bin. All right, so we got all the extra baking powder, everything in there. There should be just a little bit of salt left on the bottom.
Nice.
All right, now we put that into the dirty bin, sieve in the dirty bin.
Right underneath you. There you go.
Perfect. All right, so next thing we're gonna do, we're not gonna take the lid off. So whoever's doing the water, it's your turn. So we're going to make a little well with our container. All right, you should see it right above.
So
You
that
guys-
goes all the way down to the bottom of the pan.
Yep.
Awesome.
All right, so we have our little well. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add in our water to this well. So now, add in our water into the well.
If you put it on top, it would kind of like get the whole top wet.
But
and
you
it
don't-
doesn't incorporate as
It
well.
doesn't incorporate as
Uh-huh.
well, so we want this to incorporate really well. All right, so everybody's got our water in. If you're ready with your water, put your thumbs up.
Are we there? Awesome.
We are there, we are there. All right, now we're gonna need a fork or a spoon. It should be in your bins underneath. A fork, a spoon. You can also use a butter knife, a chopstick, either way. All right, so next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna slowly incorporate the flour into our water.
It looks like you're doing kind of an around the bowl
Yep.
stir.
Around the bowl stir.
I like it.
And we're just slowly incorporating. It's gonna go into kind of like a milky kind of look, and then it's gonna kind of start to thicken up into kind of a paste. So we're just slowly adding it, and we're just incorporating it slowly through.
This way you're preventing lumps.
Yes.
I like it.
So we're just slowly. Adding in. And again, we're just constantly stirring, just slowly adding it in. Not too bad. If your arm gets tired, pass it on to the next person. Make sure everybody's.
Using your wrist to make little circles.
Yep. And then on top of that, you can kind of start seeing it's starting to get really thick. So we're on the right track. Oh, a little too much. Oh, all right. So once we're kind of at the end, we can just now fully incorporate everything in there. Beautiful.
Looking really good.
It's looking like a dough. It's a looking like a dough.
When you stir it like this, are you also kind of activating some of the gluten in the flour?
Yep, you're gonna start seeing it starting to become really stretchy. So this is the first step of activation.
Nice.
All right, so now it's gonna be kind of this big giant pasty mess. Everybody got a big pasty mess like this?
Messes?
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Let
good.
me see yours. Beautiful. All right. So now it's time to do a little bit of kneading. Now we have to be delicate, so I really want you guys to watch this part, and then you'll have some time to do the kneading. All right, so fork can go into dirty bin. You need your bench scraper. Everybody's got their bench scraper. Beautiful. All right. Everybody's got their flour for dusting. You should have a flour for dusting. Beautiful.
Yep, extra flour. Good job.
Beautiful. All right, so we're going to dust our dough. Now remember, we're watching this part. So you should be able to see everything I'm doing first, and then you guys will have some time to do this. So we're gonna go with our bench scraper, and then we're just gonna get the sides, make sure everything on the sides of it is incorporated. Beautiful. Next, we're gonna dust our work surface, and we're going to flip this out. And then with our bench scraper, again, we'll get everything out of our bowl.
I love working with doughs. Do you have a favorite?
My favorite dough is actually biscuits.
Biscuit dough is great. I love to make pies. Is pie crust a dough?
Pie crust is a dough.
Nice.
Yep, it is a dough. Pie dough. I don't know if you've
Pie
heard of
dough.
that. Pie dough. All right, so we're going to, everybody still watching? Beautiful, thank you. All right, so next we're gonna go with our bench scraper and we're gonna start doing the kneading. So we're gonna grab from underneath and fold it. And we're gonna fold.
That is really gentle.
You gotta be gentle with this because we're gonna build up the gluten. And if we go straight into our hands, it's gonna be a mess and we don't want that. So fold, over. Now, if for any reason it starts to stick, just add a little more flour. Not a big deal. All right, so this bench scraper is gonna get underneath and fold. Turn it, underneath and fold. Turn it, underneath and fold. And then we can start using our hands. So again, we're gonna put a little bit of dough in our flour in our hands. We're gonna get underneath and fold. Turn, underneath and fold. Mine's a little wet, so it's all right. We just gotta be, again, throw a little more flour and then get to the right consistency.
So if it is not sticking, you don't need to add flour like that.
No, if it's not sticking, you don't have to add flour. So.
So you just kind of have to get a feel for how the dough works.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, if your hands start to get kind of messy, it's okay. Just rub them, and we'll get the dough off. But I think mine's a little too wet. But easy fix. Again, like we said, just add more flour, and just add slowly more flour into it until it gets to the right consistency. There we go. And you'll start seeing it to start to really get
It's starting to kind of
firmer.
stand up and get a nice shape.
Yep.
Yeah. I like it.
So this is gonna take about 4 minutes. I'm gonna come and walk around, make sure you guys are doing everything great, and I'm gonna have Shar keep kneading this up. Question?
I'm gonna take my ring off my finger.
Either one doesn't make a difference. It's just extra flour. Yep. Perfect.
All right.
All right.
Should I just go right to the sink and like wash my hands?
No, I would definitely go to a trash can and like rub off any extra dough.
Because what would happen if I put this in the sink?
It could clog your sink.
Ah, we don't want that.
We don't want that.
Okay, I'm gonna get this off my hands. Do we have a garbage liner?
Here. There's trash cans over there. There you go. Flour everywhere with this wind. All right. So you're going to see that the dough is starting to firm up. This is what we are looking for. Do a couple more. And those of you at home, just tell me what you guys are feeling. Is it getting firmer? Is it still pretty soft? If it's getting firm, we're on the right track. If it's still pretty soft, add a little more flour. But it should be kind of, when you push it, it pops back. Kind of a good sign. I think we're good on that. All right. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna rub my hands into a bowl. Almost extra bits of dough. All right, so once our dough is kind of nice and formed, I'm gonna get everything off of this real quick because we're gonna need our bench scraper. All right, is our dough ready? Everybody's ready? All right, so yeah, I think you guys are good. That looks good, perfect. Next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna turn it into kind of a square. And we're gonna cut these into quarters with our bench scraper. And then with these, we're gonna turn that into another square, and we're gonna cut this into 4 pieces. And with these 4 pieces, we're gonna cut these one more time in half. Beautiful. So you should have 8 pieces of dough. All right, so next thing we're gonna do, Once you have your 8 pieces of dough, let me know when you're ready. Got it, got it. All right. So what we're gonna do is take our little oil container. We're gonna throw a little bit of oil in your hands so it doesn't stick and rub them. All right. And then we're gonna take our little dough and we're gonna roll it into a dough ball. And that little oil keeps your dough from sticking to your hands. You should have a red plate in front of you. With that red plate, again, we're gonna put a little oil on the bottom and rub it into the plate. And we're gonna put our dough into the plate. So if it starts to stick on your hands, put a little more oil, rub it, and we're gonna make our little dough balls. Now, this is super important. It won't rise like yeast doughs, so you don't have to worry about like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be big or anything like that. It is literally just gonna we want this to rest because we built so much gluten. If we try to roll it out right now, it just will kind of be really tough. So we want this our dough to rest. So we're just rolling into balls. And again, if it starts sticking in your hand, add a little more olive oil. All right. So grab a little dough, roll it out. Grab a little dough and roll it out. Beautiful.
Oh my gosh, that looks so great.
Well, I do my best.
You do really good. Better than your best, I think.
All right. So again, you should have about 8 pieces of dough. They should be about the size, I want to say, of a golf ball. And this will make about 3 to 4 inches of fried bread. So we got about 8 pieces. If you want a little bit bigger, you can always make them bigger.
And putting a little bit of oil on top of them keeps them from drying out, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to add a little dough or a little bit of oil on top of these, and it's going to help also them from sticking to each other. So just rub a little bit of oil on them. All right. So I'm going to let everybody get on this. One thing we can also do to ensure it doesn't dry out, take our little dough or our little bowl, put it right on top, keeps it from drying out. I'm going to let everybody finish up doing these. We're going to take about a 4-minute break to actually get everything cleaned up, and we'll get back to you guys in a short break. Oh, not too bad. How do you guys feel about making the dough? Not too bad? You guys got your dough making down? All right, let's go back to our stations, our prep stations. Yep, back to our, so we're going to need our cutting board and knives out, so if you don't already have that out, let's get that out. Next, we're going to need one of these metal tray pans. Everybody's got those metal tray pans? Please, just need one of those. Got metal tray pans, beautiful. Yours aren't clean? Oh, okay. So we're gonna need one of these. So let's grab one of these tray pans. So in this tray pan, we are going to season our fish. So we're gonna need our bag of fish out. So everybody's got their rock fish. Beautiful.
Do you want to talk about our ingredients for this?
Yep. We're gonna talk about that in a second. Yep. So I want to get this going because this has to take a little bit of time to salt our fish. At home for everybody, there are some that are going to be using salted cod.
Where do you get salted cod?
So when it comes to salted cod, you can actually find them at a Caribbean store. There is one in Portland. It's called Caribbean Spice. It's on Northeast 42nd. So if you guys want to check that out, you can find it there. Or any kind of freshwater white fish will work for this. So we're using rockfish in ours.
Nice.
What's the question? Something's fishy about this fish. What is a fish? All right. So we got jokes today. I like it. All right. So we're going to take our fish. We're going to put it onto our tray. Just dump it on out. Perfect. We're going to need our tongs. So make sure we got our tongs. Got tongs to tongs. All right. So we're going to grab our tongs. We're going to lay out our fish. Beautiful. Now, if you're vegetarians, this would be a good time for you to dice up your tofu or any kind of vegetarian options you may use.
You mentioned mushrooms earlier. Mushrooms would work really well.
Mushrooms would work the same, yep.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna kind of take some of the liquid out of our fish. So with this, we're gonna need salt. So you're gonna have your little dish of salt. Beautiful, everybody's got it? It should be right next to your stove. Beautiful. All right, so with our salt, we're gonna just season our fish liberally. A lot of salt. We try to remove a lot of that liquid. We're gonna take our tongs, flip our fish, and do the same thing. Just our salt. No pepper, just salt. And then we're really trying to get a lot of this water out of our fish. So this is gonna be our salted fish. All right, so we're gonna put this to the side, keep tongs with it, and we're good to go. All right, so let's talk about the other ingredients that we're gonna be needing. I'm gonna give you guys a couple more seconds because you guys are still salting. All right. Perfect.
Looking good.
Good.
Yeah.
You gonna go season? Get that salt bit. You don't like fish? Oh, it's okay.
It's okay.
Are you gonna eat the fish though? No.
Just
What?
a tiny taste.
Makes you want it. What? Crazy talk. All right, no worries.
How many times do you have to try a new food to get used to it?
I don't know. I think it's just like I get older and I try new things, and things I used to not like I like. So
So weird how that
it could be a situation you just don't like it now.
Yep. Your taste
all right.
buds change throughout your life.
No worries.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna put our fish to the side. Just put it into an empty area in your tables. Just put it to the side. There we go. Beautiful. All right.
I
So
think we have a question over here.
question. We have a No. All right. So next thing we have is let's talk about our ingredients for our salted fish. So we're gonna have 2 onions. Everybody's got your onions? Grab an onion. Grab an onion. Perfect. And we're gonna have our carrots. Got our carrots? Grab your carrots. I want to see your carrots. Throw them in the air. Wave them like you just don't care. Carrot time. We have our thyme, a little baggie of thyme.
Herbs. Perfect.
Herbs.
We're going to talk more about herbs later.
Yes.
Yeah.
Herb, herb, herb. Herb is the word. All right. Then we have our SBS, which is salt and brown sugar. Shake it if you got it. Beautiful. Thank you. Then we're going to have a little container. Inside our container, we have our habanero, our garlic, and our allspice berries in there. You guys see them? Beautiful. So much
Do
you guys
allspice berries come from a tree?
They do.
Yeah.
They're amazing. They're actually a really awesome spice. Not a lot of people use allspice, but it is in African dishes and Caribbean dishes. It's in almost every dish. So it's like one of those seasons you always know it's Caribbean or African if you have allspice.
Nice.
And then we have our white vinegar. We have our white vinegar. It should say white vinegar on top. Don't smell it because it's vinegar, but it's very strong. Love it. All right. So you should also have a little bottle of olive oil. Everybody's got your oil? Just want to make sure you know where that is. And you should have your salt and pepper. Get out of here. All right. So we're going to be doing a lot of knife skills, and we're going to teach you a new one, which is the ribbons of carrot. This is a super fun one. I like this. And it's something that can be done, anyone can do. All you need is a peeler. Everybody's got their peelers? Wave your peeler in the air.
Nice.
You have the peeler.
You have the power of the peeler.
Well, there you go. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the skin off the carrot. So we're going to wash, and then we're going to do. We're not going to play. It's not sword fights. Peelers down, please. Thank you, gentlemen. All right. So we're going to peel the outside of our carrot first.
And we talked about using these vegetable scraps for broth before. Those would work well, right?
This would be perfect for a broth.
Yep.
So we're going to peel the outside of our carrot. All right. This goes into our compost / broth bag.
Nice. Love it.
Perfect. Now, we're going to go and we're going to peel ribbons of our carrot. So just one side, and we're just going to go until it's gone. again, we're always peeling away from our fingers. Once we're done with one side, turn it over.
And we talked about taking your time, so if this is a new skill for you, you just want to slow it down and learn the rhythm. Teach your
Exactly.
muscles how to do this job.
And again, we're just letting the cutting board kind of,
I'm going to just grab one. That is beautiful. Look at this. You can see the core. I love it.
so we're gonna keep going. And then once you got like a little thin piece, it's a good snack. So you get a carrot snack. Why not? All right, so you got 2 carrots. Make sure you guys sharing. Let everybody give it a chance. And let's get our carrot going. All right, so let's bring it on back. All right, so we have our carrots mostly done. You want to help your sister? Very good. Good job, everybody. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is our onions. So we all remember how we did our yassa chicken. We're nice and thin sliced onions. I'm going to do you a refresher course on how we're going to julienne our onions. So we're going to, again, take the bottom, cut that off, take off the top. Now remember, we're always going to pinch by the bolster, grab onto it gently, and we're letting the knife do all the work. This is all a refresher course for everybody. It's been, what, 7 weeks now? So you guys should be pros at chopping everything. So from here, again, make the OK sign, measure in the middle, and cut all the way through. We're then going to peel the papery skin off of our onions. Again, we're watching, we're not chopping. You shouldn't be chopping right now.
Now, this is another thing we could either compost or make into broth.
Exactly. So from this, we're going to do, again, juliennes. There we go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we're going to, again, follow the lines with our knife. So remember, claw, put in our fingers, and as thin as we can. Let the knife do all the work.
We always go slowly if this is a new skill we're learning.
Exactly. And once we're about 3/4 of the way, turn it over and keep going. All right, so that's half. We're gonna do one more time. Let the knife do all of the work. Once we get about 3/4, turn it over and keep going.
Beautiful.
All right, so we got 2 onions that need to get chopped. Have fun, y'all.
That is a beautiful pile of vegetables.
Yes, but super important we keep them separate because they all have different cooking times.
Oh, right.
So we gotta make sure we always keep everything separate. All right, so while you guys are finishing up your onions, we're not making them small. We're keeping them long.
We have these beautiful julienne shapes.
Yep, beautiful. We're gonna put them all into your tray. Make sure you're keeping them separate piles of everything. All right, so we are going to get into our next one, which is going to be our garlic. So our garlic, we're gonna mince this up. And it's a very simple process.
No grater today.
No grater today. We're not gonna cheat today. A lot of chopping today. So what we're gonna do to mince is very simple. Remember, nice and small. We're gonna cut these lengthwise into little slivers. Taking our time as small as we can. Once we have our little slivers, we're gonna do one more time, turn it into slivers, into sticks. All right, once we have our little sticks, turn them over. Remember, tip the knife down, hand flat, and we're just gonna chop them small. And this is gonna create our mince. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just want them all relatively small. Take off our garlic. Again, cup our hand, bring it into our hand, and pile up. Now, we're gonna be putting the onions and the garlic in together, so we can pile those together. That's totally fine.
So the carrots are going to go in later.
Carrots are gonna go in after. Yep,
Nice.
perfect. All right, so let's get on our garlic, and I'm gonna come over and see what you guys are doing. All right, how's everybody doing? Everybody okay?
So you can get out there.
Looking great out there? I like it, I like it, I like it a lot. All right, now it is time for our thyme.
Time for your time.
Time for your thyme. So we're gonna grab our little baggies of thyme. Once we get all our garlic onto our little bundle of of ginger or of onions. So we're going to take our time, and this is a very tedious, but it's very necessary. We're going to deflour the actual thyme. So these are the little flowers, and all we're going to do is grab it and pull it off. Grab it and pull it off.
So you're taking those leaves off the stem.
Yep. These are, so it's going to take a little bit of time. So just deflowering the thyme, and we're good to go.
So why did the chef have to stop cooking?
Why did the chef have to stop cooking?
He ran out of time.
Oh, zingers. All right. So that's a good one. All right. So once we're done with our thyme, we're going to add them in with the allspice. So I'm going to let Shara do on this, and I'm going to go check on everybody. So for those of you at home that want to get spicy, we can go a little bit spicy. So I'm going to show you guys, you don't have to do this if you don't want spicy. So all we're going to do is we're going to cut our habanero in half. Super easy. And then all we're going to do is just give it a quick slice. Super easy. And then little sticks into little mince. Now, super important, we are not going to touch our eyes.
No, do not touch your face after this one.
So we can go in, add it into our onions. All right? So I'm going to go wash my hands real quick.
Yeah, those oils will burn your skin.
So, Shara, what's the spiciest thing you've ever eaten?
Oh, man. I like spicy food, so I can't even think of like what's the spiciest because I like spicy food.
Okay.
Do you
All
have
right.
a spiciest thing you ever ate?
Yes. So my friend, she is from India, and she made me this like chilies and spinach thing in the morning, and she was like, "Here's some breakfast I made for you," and I'm like, "Okay," and it literally blew my face off first thing in the morning. It was so spicy.
Yeah.
So she realizes I can't take spicy.
What do you do if you have something really spicy to tame it down in your mouth?
I eat cheese. You can also eat some bread,
Yep.
some sugar water.
Yep.
That works. Milk or any kind
Drink a glass of milk.
of
Yeah.
non-dairy milk works as well.
Yeah.
Anything that has a little fat. Fat helps.
That helps take it off your tongue.
All right, so we're gonna need our rolling pin for this next part. Rolling pins in hand.
Anybody? Anybody?
Got your rolling pins? You're gonna need your rolling pin. So in your little cup that had our habaneros,
I've noticed there's two different kinds.
yeah, this is the more French style, and then
Okay.
that is the more traditional, like.
Nice.
So what we're gonna do with our rolling pins is we're gonna use this to kind of crack our allspice berries. So we got our allspice berries. They look like little black, I would say cue balls, mini cue balls. So with our rolling pin, we're just gonna go put it underneath our rolling pin and kind of crack it. Very simple. And these little berries just crack just gently. They're not like super hard. They're not like black peppercorns. But we're just gonna kind of crack it.
I heard that one.
And then one more time. And this is something we're going to be adding into our brown sugar and our salt that we have measured. So we have our kind of like our little concoction of spices and herbs.
Perfect.
So we're going to mix that all together, and we're good to go. You guys all good? You guys got those? Thumbs up when you're ready. They're looking good. I like it.
I like
All
it.
right. So we have our mise en place done for our filling. We have our vinegar ready. So this is our mise en place for our filling, which is going to be our last thing we do. Next, it's time to do some cooking of some fish. Question? Oh, so are you going to add a little bit of habanero into it? So you can add it into your onions and garlic. All right, perfect. So you guys are brave. I like this. A brave team. All right, so we got our fish that you can kind of see there's a little bit of liquid on the bottom. This is good. There's going to be paper towels in your bin underneath your table. What I want you guys to do is kind of blot out that little bit of extra water that you see on top of your fish. Now this is super important because we're going to be frying our fish a little bit.
What happens if there's a bunch of water on your fish when you fry it?
It starts to sputter, and we don't want sputtering.
Because it could actually pop onto your skin.
Exactly, and that creates
that would hurt.
burns. Now, one thing also, I want you guys to remember this. When you're cooking outdoors, it will attract certain, insectual friends. So just be very mindful. Just shoo them away. We don't want our little bug friends out here touching our food. That's not good. All right, so we wiped our little bit of liquid off. We're gonna do one more seasoning of some pepper. And this is super important because of course we gotta season our food. We like our food seasoned. So we got our pepper, take our tongs, flip it. And we're gonna do it again. Now be very careful about adding extra salt to this because again, it has been sitting in salt for a little while and we put a liberal amount so we don't need it. Now if you guys are using salted cod at home, your fish should already be kind of salty so you don't have to really stress too much. But again, if we're gonna be frying it, we wanna make sure that we are drying our salted cod because those have been boiling for a while. So we have our fish seasoned, ready to go, happy. All right, now it's time for us to turn our stoves on. We're gonna turn these on to medium-high heat, so about 360 for you guys. And we're gonna have our pans get preheated. So chefs, you wanna help them get their pans preheated? And while that's happening, I wanna make sure you guys, for those of you who are doing vegetarian options at home, this will be a good time for you to get your tofu out and season it and dry it out as well. It's a good time.
We talked about different ways of cooking fish and depending on how much oil, fried or seared, right?
Mm-hmm. So so the difference between like seared fish and fried fish is the amount of oil.
Okay.
Now there's different types of frying. There's shallow frying. There's deep frying. There's also just honestly, I think it's anything that you have to use oil to cook something. It's kind of a form of frying.
Okay.
So for us, we're going to kind of like do more of like a gentle frying. We're going to be putting a liberal amount of oil on the bottom, and we're going to put our fish on top, and we're just going to let it kind of sit and fry.
Okay. You don't want to mess with it.
We don't want to mess with it because it's just like anything else. If you want it to brown, don't move it around. It's the key.
Like that.
It's the key. All right. So our pan, let's just be patient. We're going to let our pan get nice and hot.
So warm up the pan and then put the oil in.
And then put the oil in. So we never put oil into a cold pan.
Okay.
Because by the time it gets to the right temperature, it will burn, and we don't want that.
Okay. And then why did you choose this oil?
So we're using vegetable oil because it has a high smoke point, and then also
and high smoke point means?
that it will not burn once it gets to like 375 degrees.
Okay.
So when we're frying anything, we want to make sure that our oil is hot enough to be able to take the high heat.
Like you wouldn't want to use olive oil.
Olive oil is very low smoke point, and it would be really hard. Ooh, these are looking good. So we're going to do about 2 tablespoons of oil, and we're going to do this in multiple batches. Now again, if your pan's too hot, just take it off. You put it to the side, it's totally fine. And then what we're going to do to also cool this down, add your protein into it. So whenever we're cooking anything, we're always going to lay it away. So tip it and lay it away. So there we go. So you should have about multiple batches depending on how big the fish is. So we're going to put this back onto the heat. And we're going to let this sear for about 2 minutes on each side. So you guys should be ready to go. Get your oil in, and we're going to let this fry in your pan. All right, so we are going to be flipping our fish now. After a couple minutes, ooh, this is already kind of moving. Just give it a quick shake, and it should move pretty easily. And again, we're going to kind of push it away.
That is a beautiful brown color. Do you have a name for what's going on here?
So this reaction is called the Maillard reaction. It is the browning of proteins, and it's actually very common, especially with steaks or anything like that. Now, if it starts to smoke, take it off the fire and put it onto the cork board. So if it starts to smoke, take it off the fire and put it on the cork board. Fish is looking great. It's a really good indicator is when the fish is all white, all the way down. And it should start almost kind of break apart because it's a white fish. It'll start to break apart a little bit.
So the fish is a little translucent when
we
it's
put it
raw.
on. Yep.
And then when it's cooked, it turns all the way white.
Yep.
Nice.
It's a really good indicator.
Cool.
All right. So once we are done with one, we're going to add another one. And again, medium to medium high heat depending on your stove. If it's too hot, just turn down the heat. That's all it is. And then we're just gonna sear. Very super simple. We're just getting our fry on. And again, bringing the oil to make sure that there's enough oil underneath it to get some frying going.
So what happens when you overcrowd your pan?
The actual temperature starts to drop and we're no longer frying, we're boiling.
Okay.
And that's super important. We don't overcrowd our pan.
Because the boiling is like all the liquid comes out too fast. Is that what you mean?
So the temperature of the liquid actually drops so much that it actually doesn't actually start frying. It literally just kind of just boils.
Okay.
And it's not hot enough. So when we're frying, we want it to be around close to 350 degrees. Water can only go up to 220 degrees. So if your oil is at 220 degrees, then you're boiling, and we don't want boiling. We want it to be frying.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna leave this to you. I'm gonna make sure everybody's doing all right.
I will watch this.
There you go. So we're gonna talk a little bit more about indicators on when should we flip. So if you look at the pan, the edges of the fish is actually super white, but you're gonna see on the bottom of it is gonna start to turn brown. That's our first indicator that our fish is nice and ready to flip. So if you look at it, now one thing I like to do is like tilt the pan back and forth to make sure the oil is hitting those edges so they're nice and crispy. And your fish should move around pretty easily. If you have like a non-stick pan, that also is another way to make sure it doesn't stick. But like I said, having a liberal amount of oil is going to help with this process.
If you're doing the tofu, is that cooking about the same amount of time?
Tofu is going to be a little bit longer, and you actually need a lot more oil because the tofu does absorb a lot of that oil. Okay. So when you're doing a tofu at home, make sure you have a good amount of oil in there. And if you're not really sure, if you look at your pan, there's no oil, add more oil. Okay. It's a really good indicator. All right, so our fish, again, like you said, nice and brown on the edges, white. And then all we're going to do, in there one more time. There you go. Now you saw I turned the pan so all the oil's over here, and then I laid it back down. That's another way of going about it. It's a lot safer as well. And then you don't have to worry about splashing because you tilt the pan, all the oil's over here, and it hits a nice dry pan on this side.
Okay, so you're not going to get oil on yourself.
Exactly. So you're going to notice that the smell of fish is going to be very pungent in your house. I highly suggest get some windows open. Windows are going to be your best friend right now.
You have a fan?
Get a fan blowing. You should have a fan on a hood system in your stove, so have that going. Unless you're tall like me and it blows in your face, then that's never fun. All right, so we're going to check on our fish and see how everybody's doing. All right, guys, so it is our time to do a little bit of frying of our bread. So things we're going to need a deep pan. We're actually going to be using the same pan we just did our frying of our fish. And we're going to get our frying oil and put it into that pan. So we're going to come back. We're going to put our frying oil in our pan, just like so. And we're going to put it onto our burner. We're going to bring the temperature on that one to 360 degrees.
And what kind of oil do you have here?
This is soybean frying oil.
Okay.
But you can also use canola oil, coconut oil, anything that has a high smoke point. Grapeseed oil is another good one. Avocado oil. Peanut oil, if you don't have a peanut allergy, is another good one. So we're at 360 degrees. So while that's happening, we're going to do some rolling out of the dough.
Nice.
So this part's pretty easy and pretty simple and pretty fun. This is something anyone can do. So first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to flour our surface. We're going to take our dough. It's nice and stretchy again. So we're going to put some flour underneath our dough. First thing we're going to do is we're going to pat it out nice and flat. So again, pat it out nice and flat. All right. Then we're going to take our rolling pin and we're going to roll it to about 3 inches. So everybody's paying attention. Everybody's seeing what we're doing. We're rolling this out to somewhat of an oval circular shape. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to be about 1/4 inch thick, and that is what our fry dough is going to look like. So we're going to be rolling these out while our oil is getting nice and hot, And again, show you one more time. We're going to take our dough, roll it back into like a little circle. And then flour on top. I'm just going to press it into a circle. Super easy. Then we're going to take our rolling pin. And flour is going to be your best friend to keep everything from sticking. Roll and turn. Roll and turn. Now if it starts to stick, flip it, throw more flour on it. So there we go. All right, so Char's gonna keep doing this. Someone's gonna keep doing. Now we're talking about the frying part. This is actually super important. We're gonna need our tongs for this. So, tongs.
Those are fishy.
There should be some clean ones in there. These ones. Yep, perfect. So we're gonna take our tongs. Oh, make sure you get no plastic in there. We don't want no plastic in our tongs. So we're gonna take our bread. So everybody's paying attention to this part? This is the frying part. So we're gonna take our bread dough. We're gonna take it down and lay it away from us. So this is super important. Then with our tongs, we're gonna baste the top of it a little bit to start to poof up.
Poofing.
So you guys should be watching this part right here. This should be watching on the screen.
So poofing sounds a little bit like magic. What's happening here?
So what's happening right now is this poofing is the steam and the water that's in the actual bread is starting to spread apart the flour molecules and start to puff. So this is where we're getting this kind of like the puffing of our bread going. So now if you have like a giant bubble, one thing you can do is you can create a vent on it. But it should be about 2 minutes on each side or until it's nice and golden brown.
Nice.
So once it starts poofing, we're just going to flip it over and do it again. And we're going to fry on both sides, like I said, on accumulation about 3-4 minutes on each side. So every minute, just turn it and you're good to go.
When I roll out pie crust, I only go in one direction. I noticed you went back and forth.
Yes. It's just. I mean, it really just depends on like how you were taught. The way I was taught was pretty simple. Actually, that's perfect. There you go, and that's done. So again, low flour underneath just to make sure it doesn't stick, and you're good to go.
Awesome.
So you should also have a pan that with some paper towels on it to drain our bread. Hey, can I get some paper towels, please? Okay. Give me 1 second. I'll be over there in a second. All right. So we're gonna fry this on both sides. Perfect. Perfect.
Oh, got it.
All right, so it's been a couple of minutes on each side. Oh, this looks nice and firm. We're just gonna shake off any extra. And we're gonna take a few minutes for you guys to fry all this up. You'll be seeing us do it on there. We'll put some music on and we'll see you in a few minutes. So we're going to need our pans that we just had our oil in. All right, we're going to dump our oil carefully into our small pot. So teachers, if you can give them a hand, that'd be great. We're gonna put the oil down below, away, so it doesn't accidentally burn anybody. We're gonna turn our pans on to 390 degrees or medium-high heat. We're gonna be adding in about a tablespoon of oil. Our pan should still be pretty hot. All right. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to be adding in our onions, our peppers, and our garlic. So with this, we're going to be sauteing these up fast and furious. So we're going to bring this up to 430 degrees. We're going to season with some salt and pepper. No carrots in it. We didn't put carrots in this yet. All right. So what we're doing is we're trying to saute up and break down these onions. Now the garlic and the habaneros, those are going to kind of be protected a little bit by the onions so they don't burn. So again, we're moving these around quickly. All right, while that's happening, we're going to take our spatula and we're going to break up our fish. All right, just kind of flake it up. All right, so we're going to saute these up for another couple minutes.
Oh my gosh, that is smelling so good. I can smell it all the way across the room.
Oh yeah, it's looking good. All right, we're going to be adding in our little spice and salt mixture and herbs. So that's our allspice, our sugar, our salt, and we're going to add in our carrots into the mix. You guys got your perfect. Remember, we're at about 430, so we're about close to more high than medium high.
The smell just totally changed. You can smell some of the herbs and the carrots just kind of softened up that onion smell.
Yep.
I like it.
All right. So next thing we're going to be adding in is our white vinegar. 430 degrees. We're adding in our vinegar and we're adding in our fish. Do we have the to-go boxes?
Yeah.
After you put the carrots in. Yep. You chop it up. Did you chop it up with the spatula? All right, so we're going to let this simmer until all the liquid's gone, and we're good to go. All right, so I'm going to leave this one to you, Shara. You can talk a little bit about, because I know they have a couple top talking points, and I want to make sure everybody's all situated.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, we did want to talk about reducing the sugar in your diet, and we have a recipe, blueberry bling, and it's basically a really simple recipe that you can use to use berries. It's got oats, which are whole grain, super delicious, and commonly it's called a crisp. So it's a great way to use the summer seasonal fruit and have a low sugar, low fat, healthier dessert. So the other thing we wanted to talk about is drinking sugar. We take in a lot of calories from drinking sugar. And we remember, calories are just the energy that is in food. We want to make sure that we're getting nutrients with that. So we always want to read your nutrition facts label. And if you look at this, you have added sugar, and this is a beverage recipe, so it has no nutrients. If you look down at the bottom, calcium, potassium, vitamin D, those nutrients that your body needs, they're not in there. So you know you're only getting calories from sugar. So those are the empty calories. And Two other important reasons for kind of reducing the amount of sugary beverages that you consume is thinking about like the expense. So my husband drinks coffee. He likes to buy maybe 3 coffees a week, and you can kind of do the math. I think long range, and he thinks, you know, I want it now. So if he had $3 coffees 4 times a week, that is, you know, $12 a week, and if you multiply that times 52 weeks in a year, that's $640. And I always think of that money as an opportunity to buy a plane ticket, like go to the Caribbean. So I always like to think about beverage math. And then the other thing that I like to think about is the environment. So we have this cartoon, and it's dolphins swimming in the garbage. And it's kind of funny, but actually we have so many single-use plastics that we are kind of getting in trouble with our environment. So we like to think about how we can not use so much plastics and reducing the water beverages that you buy in single-use plastic is a great way to do it, because who wants their oceans to look like this? And one of the things we do is just make flavored water at home for a treat. So you can use any herb and vegetables or fruit, like cucumber is a great one, and we have just a little video that shows you how to do it. We'll go with that one. So thanks for watching, and Chef, do you want to say anything else, or are you good? We're good. So go ahead and check out this video, and we'll see you next week.